have a momentous occasion. This is something we've been hinting at and something we've talked about behind the scenes. We have our first video game review.
Awesome. Yep.
On Under the Abyss, or Into the Abyss.
Into the Abyss.
It's late. I'm sorry.
It's late. He's had a little bit to drink.
Yes. And it's not so much the drink, it's the late thing. Just so you guys are aware, the way we're doing this is we're basically getting together about once a month and recording like 3 hours of video.
And just releasing it.
And we are on the butt end of that 3 hours. So it is
late. It's late.
I am going home after this. So, and I've only had 2 drinks, so I'm good. And I have a full belly. So anyway, we're going to talk about a game that I played recently. It's been on my radar for a long, long time. And that is What Remains of Edith Finch. Okay. I've heard very good things about it. It's one of those indie games that gets talked a lot about in the press. Maybe not played as much by a lot of people, but it has that almost like similar to the Academy Awards get a buzz. There's those artistic films that a lot of people talk about, and then there's of course the Marvel films.
Right.
This is one of those Oscar type the games that people talk about. What Remains of Edith Finch? It's phenomenal. Play it. You don't have to be a horror fan. So if you've got someone in your if you're watching Into the Abyss, you're probably a horror fan. But you may have people in your life that aren't horror fans. They can probably handle this. A lot of people may not even classify it horror. In the same way that the Twilight Zone, some people won't classify the Twilight Zone as horror. This might not be classified there. But it does put you through some horrifying situations. So in the broad sense, it is horror. But I've never actually seen a reviewer call it horror, which was amazing to me because I'm playing. I'm like, this is horror. This is terrifying. It's a narrative-driven game. So even if you're not a big gamer, this is not about reflexes. This is not about hand-eye coordination. This is a story, and it's an experience, and it's absolutely wonderful. It's heart-wrenching, it's traumatic, and it's brilliantly told, both in terms of the writing and also the acting. This is an experience, and this is an experience I highly recommend, and it's short. You can get through it in just one evening. So the premise of What Remains of Edith Finch is the character, Edith Finch, is she's going back into her house that she grew up in. You get to it. This thing is a monstrosity. It goes back to the history of them coming over to America, and from there the house has been built on by various generations. And she comes back to this, and I think it's, if I remember correctly, it's in the Pacific Northwest, and they're there, and you're just experiencing what is the history of this family and all the tragedy that's been there. One of the jaw-dropping moments for me, one of the things that made me realize this is a different kind of story, is very early in the game you get I think I paused the game, and I just remember I'm just not doing anything really specific, and suddenly there's the family tree. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. You can see the family trees there. I don't even know anything about these characters yet, but here's the family tree. And then I start to actually look at the age ranges on it, and I realize most of the people in this family tree have died as children. And that's at the point where the light went off, like, this is something different. And you go through it, and you're actually exploring why this girl is traumatized from her family history, but also the trauma of the past. Like, she grew up around this with all these secrets around her. You're basically breaking into different rooms of the house, and you're revealing the history, and she's learning facts about her family that she was never told while other members were alive. And it goes back generations, and it gets to the point where it gets into your head, is this a curse? Is this a literal curse? Or is this just tragedy of life that has accumulated on the family, and it's set the tone for how the family experience? Experience is the best term for this, and it's amazing. And some of the stuff that it's artistically done, you go through and experience maybe a horrific thing, and your mind is split in the middle. One half of your mind says, I realize what is actually going on here, and this is a parent's worst nightmare. And then the other half of your brain is going through this trippy, almost hypnotic scene that's told in a non-literal sense. And you're both heart-wrenching and smiling at the same time, and it's a wonderful experience. So I've played video games for a long time. I have a big game background. I don't get to play as much as I used to, unfortunately.
Right. Well, the perils of adulthood,
being an adult and a father and things.
Parenthood. Yep.
Actually, writing has taken over. My gaming time is mostly turned into writing books now. But this is an experience. I'm so glad I took it. If you've never played it, if you're a gamer, you've probably heard of this, but you've never played it, I actually played it on Xbox Game Pass, which is a service you pay like Netflix. You pay it per month. It's there. You can play it for free if you're in the subscription, and you can play it in one evening. And it's an emotional journey, and it's so well done. This is the kind of thing. It's one of those experiences that books and movies can't tell this kind of story because of the way it's interactive, and it presents a kind of horrifying family journey that I've never seen before. So I highly recommend it. What Remains of Edith Finch, 5 out of 5. Highly recommended.
Okay.